We're in section 6.1. We're going to talk about solid shapes. And what we're going to do today is we're going to draw some solid shapes, some really basic solid shapes, and figure out how to find their surface area and volume. And this will be kind of an introduction into the idea of surface area and volume. So we're going to grab this first picture that's right on your note sheet. So we call this paper is called isometric dot paper. Doesn't really matter what it means. But the dots are arranged nicely so that we can draw solid cubes easily. So to draw a cube on here, I'm just going to connect 4 of these squares, or 4 of these dots, like so. And I have a nice little cube. And you can see that my drawings aren't perfect and beautiful. That's fine. So there's my cube. If I want, so we're looking down on the top of this cube. If I wanted to look up at the cube, I could do the same thing. I'm going to connect 4 dots to make a square. And then I'm just going to go up from there. So now I'm looking up at that cube. So this lets us see 3 sides of our cube at once. Should I put it away, please? Thank you.
Don't touch the clean dry thing now.
So if we say that the side of this cube, each side is one unit, whatever that unit is, what would be the volume of this cube? 1, right? 1 times 1 times 1, just like we did on our opener. So our volume of this little cube is going to be 1 unit cubed. Or we could say 1 cubic unit. So our volume, that's one nice thing about doing our drawings this way, is our volume, if we make a complicated shape with a bunch of these cubes, to find the volume, all we have to do is count up the cubes. U is fine, or you could just put U cubed. Now our volume is 1 cubic unit. What would be the area of one of the squares that's on the outside of this cube? 1, right? 1 times 1. And how many squares are on the outside of this cube?
4.
How many sides does the cube have? 6, right? We have 3 here, and 2 on the back and 1 on the bottom. So we have 6 sides. So our surface area, the area of all the parts that are on the outside, is 6 units squared. So we're just counting up the squares that are on the outside. So if we have a complicated shape made of these cubes, our surface area is just going to, we can find our surface area by counting up all the squares that are on the outside.
The surface area always squared?
Squared, yes. Surface area is an area, so it's always going to be units squared. So we can draw these cubes. We can figure out the volume. We can figure out the surface area. So let's practice a little bit figuring out the surface area and volume of a couple shapes. So again, this is on your sheet. We'll go through this one together, and then there's some stuff that you guys are going to do. So there's the lower part of our sheet. And we want to find the surface area and volume of these shapes. So let's start out with the surface area first. And let's do this shape first. I'm sorry, the volume. Let's do the volumes first. So the volume of this shape, we're just counting up. Actually, we'll start with this shape. Volume of this shape. And when we have a drawing like this, anytime that a cube is up like this, we're going to say that even though we can't see it, there's another one underneath that has to hold it up. So they're not cubes that are just kind of floating above. There's always one underneath. So what would be the volume of this shape? 4 cubes, right? We have one here, one here, one here, and one underneath holding this one up. So our volume here would be 4 units cubed. So how about the volume of this one? This one we have a layer of 4 on the top, and we'd have a layer of 4 underneath that one. So our volume is going to be 8 units cubed. How about this one? 9, we have 3, 3, 3. So we have 9 units cubed. This one a little trickier, but not much. We have 1, 2, 3 here, 4, 5, 6, 7. One behind here is 8, and one behind here is 9. So we have 9 units cubed. So let's work on the surface areas. We'll do the surface areas. Let's start the surface areas with this one. So how many squares are showing on the top of this cube? 4. And how many sides does this cube have? 6 sides, right? So if each side has 4 squares showing, and I have 6 sides, my surface area is going to be 24 units squared. 6 times 4 is 24. So how about this one? Let's figure out the surface area of this one. How many squares are showing on the top? 9. So how many are going to be on the bottom that we can't see? 9. So that's 18. I have 3 on this side. That makes 21. I have 3 on this side. That makes 24. I have 3 on that side. That makes 27, and 3 on the back side. So I end up with 30 units squared.
Oh yeah.
How about this one? What's going to be the surface area of this shape? It gets a little more complicated when they're arranged like this. How many squares are going to be? What I do is break it down and look at each square at a time. So how many squares are going to be showing on the outside of this one? 5. It's only touching on one side, so I'm going to have 5 there. Well, this one's going to be the same. 5 there. How many are going to be showing here? 5. It's just sharing on the bottom. And then I have 15, and then there's one underneath. How many sides are going to be showing on that one underneath?
2.
I have one on the back, one on this side, and one underneath. So it's 3. So I have 15 plus 3 gives me 18 units squared. And then the last one, let's look at this one. So we'll do this one the same way. 5, we're going to have 5 faces of this square showing. We're going to have 4 faces of this square showing. 1, 2, 3, 1 on the back side and 1 on the top. This square is going to, or this cube's going to have 4 faces. 1 on the top, 1 on the side, 1 back here, and 1 on this side. This one will also have 4. 1, 2, 1 on the back side, 1 on the top. This one's going to have 3. 1 here, and 1 on the back side. And this one will have 4 because we have the one underneath. This one we haven't counted yet. This is going to have 3. I have 1 on this side, 1 on the bottom, 1 on the other side. Then I have a square that's on the very, very bottom that's going to have 2 on the outside. One that's above that one that's going to have 2 on the outside. And I have 1 on the very, very underneath. So if I add all those up, I get 32 units squared. So what we'll do a little later is we'll build some of these shapes, and then it's easier to turn them around and count the squares. But the idea with surface area is we're just counting the parts on the outside that are shown. And sometimes, depending on the shape, it can be hard to visualize. And what's nice is because of the way math works, we can come up with, for complicated shapes, we can come up with nice formulas so we don't have to think about all these little squares. So for volume with these shapes made of cubes, we just count the cubes. For surface area, we count how many squares are on the outside.
And under, right?
and under. Anything that, if you could turn it, if you could look at it, you're counting all those squares. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, and this is going to be something for you guys to do, is we're going to do some drawings. So if you look at that sheet there, it says to draw each of these shapes and then redraw the shape with the shaded cube removed. So let me grab a piece of dot paper and I'll show you what we're talking about here. On the back of your paper, you have a bunch of blank grids.
Maybe you have to draw those and then redraw it?
Yes.
Redraw it.
So on this first set, and you're going to want to do 2 drawings per little grid there. So on the first set, it says draw the figure and then redraw it with the shaded cube removed. So if I draw this figure, I'm just going to demonstrate. I'm going to draw like so. There's my top cube. There's my cube that comes out. And here's this other cube that's sticking out on that side. So there's my original drawing. And then it wants you to redraw that with this cube taken off. So I'm going to draw like so. I'm going to start the same way, and different people do it different ways. The way I'm doing this one isn't the only right way to do it. And now I have that shape with the little square gone. So we're doing that to each of these shapes. Draw the original shape and then redraw it with the cube removed. So let me do this really quick. I'm going to grab another piece of this paper. And I'll leave these up on the board so you don't have to keep flipping back and forth. But if you have a shape like this that goes across a bunch of squares at once, you don't have to stop at each dot. So I can, because this goes across 2 dots, I could just draw the original shape like so. So I'm just going through 2 dots connecting 3 dots at a time. And there's my original shape drawn. And then it wants you to remove that front cube. So what I want you guys to do is finish off these, redraw the shape, and then draw it with the cube removed. What we're going to do is I'm going to set up the document camera, and then once we finish, we'll pick a couple people at random to show their drawings. All right? So everybody work on that if you need help. All right, so here's what I got for the surface area and volume. Guys, listen up. The surface area and volume of those shapes. For the first one, the volume is 6 cubic units. We have 6 cubes, and our surface area is 26 square units. The second one, the volume is 8 cubic units, and the surface area is 34 cubic units, or 34 square units. The last one, the volume is 12 cubic units, and the surface area is 50 square units. If you are off by a lot, you should figure out where you made your mistake. The last thing that I need to talk about today with these shapes is something that shows up on your homework. Let's stop talking, guys. On the homework, it's more finding surface area, volume, drawing these shapes. But there are a couple of questions that ask you for the orthographic views. The orthographic views just means, what does the shape look like? What does the shape look like from the front, the back, the top, the bottom, the left, and the right? So, if I'm looking at this first shape, From the front. From the front, the shape is just going to look like this. So I'm just looking at it flat. So from the front, the shape's just going to look like this. From the back, guys, it's going to look the same. So the back view looks like this. From the top, guys, stop talking. From the top, it's going to look like this. From the bottom, and I'm doing really quick sketches here, it's just our shape is going to go, our L shape is going to go the other way.
Oh, okay.
From the left on this shape, all we're going to be able to see is the ends of these two cubes. So from the left, it's going to look like this. And from the right, it's just going to look like this. Same thing. So if we put these six orthographic views together, we get an idea of what the three-dimensional shape looks like. So that's what the orthographic views are. What does the shape look like flat from the front, back, top, bottom, left, and right? Okay? The homework is up here on the desk. You can grab the homework. It's more sketching, drawing, finding surface area, finding volume.
Wait, Jerry. So, this is how you got slaves. Mr. Beers, you also turn